So Fortnite has had many different chapters throughout the years, and in this video I want to rank them from worst to best, and this video would not include the OG seasons that were tied to the chapters. So OG and Remix will not be included with chapter 4 and chapter 5. So without further delay, let's get into it. In last place is sadly chapter 4. Now this chapter had a lot of potential when it came out with all the new graphics, and it was the first chapter to not be on reality 0. It was on his a floating island in space after the fracture event, and sadly the fracture event was ass, so it already was it didn't have the best setup. But the lows of this chapter, it was foreshadowing somehow. But we're gonna go over it in order of seasons. So first up, season 1. This season was the peak of chapter 4. And it can compete with the best of the best seasons. It was actually great. The weapons in this season were very memorable. In specific, the Shockwave Hammer, Excalibur, and the My Hero Academia mythic. The augments were also introduced this season. They were actually good in this season. The other augments in the other seasons were just terrible, but these ones were actually useful. The battle pass this season was good, the best of them being the Aegis, obviously. The mid-season most wanted update was one of the best mid-season updates we've ever gotten, if not the best, with all the new exotics that were added, which were very fun to use, and the infamy feature was also pretty cool. Next up is season 2. This season was still decently good, but it was definitely a drop from season 1. The first bad thing was Mega City. Now on the outside, this location looks amazing, but once you actually get in, you realize all the buildings are empty. It's just a huge letdown. But the whole Japanese biome was pretty good as well. The weapons this season were also pretty good, with the kinetic blade being my personal favorite. This season also brought back One Pump with the Mythic Havoc, and also had the OP Slurp Juices. It also brought in the floating islands into the game, which are pretty good. This season also started the Augment Siege, which did not get better through the rest of the chapter. The battle pass is also pretty good, my favorite skin being Renzo. Next up is season 3. Now, if you couldn't tell by the long pause, I do not like season 3 in the slightest. It's my least favorite season of all time. It was horrible, by a landslide. It's ass. The biome that was added this season was one of the worst we've ever gotten. The mud was cool, I guess, but very underused. The battle pass wasn't very good at all. My favorite skin, if I had to pick, was Optimus Prime. This season ended the seasonal melee movement options, and instead opted for a kinetic boomerang, which was just terrible. And finally is chapter 4, season 4. This season was pretty good. It was around the same quality as season 2. The locations this season were just copy and pasted though, so it loses points there. The battle pass was alright. My favorite skin was Kato Thorn. The weapons this season were also pretty good. The Rocket Ram and the Business Turn were my favorites, and the mythics of the past seasons being brought back were pretty cool, but they definitely wasted Kato Thorn in the storyline. And sadly, this chapter didn't have a single live event, so it loses points there. To be honest, it's interchangeable with the next chapter on this list. In 5th place is chapter 5. Now this chapter is notorious for being bad, but I actually think it's overhated, especially Wrecked, but we'll talk about that later. Let's start off with season 1. This season was almost a resurgence for Fortnite after OG, and I feel like a ton of new players joined, and they were met with a pretty solid season, to be honest. The map was pretty good. I like what they did with it. The medallions were also added this season, and I like them. I don't know why people hate them for some reason. They were added upon in later seasons, unlike the augments. But eventually they were just kind of useless. But that's not in season 1 though. The battle pass was great in my opinion. Peter Griffin's my favorite. The weapons were pretty good too. My favorites were the grapple blade and the riot shield. The mods were honestly just a nothing burger besides the scopes sometimes, and they were way too scarce for how not useful they were, and the terrain was also underutilized. And this season also started the mini live events that were happening every season, and I like this concept, but I would prefer the actual live events. But if this is what we have to get, then I'll accept it. Next up is season 2. Now I personally enjoyed season 2. It brought me into Greek mythology more, but they also kind of underutilized the theme, and I'll talk about that later. The items added this season were pretty great, especially the wings of Icarus and Zeus's lightning thing. The locations were also great and massive with the amazing biomes. The battle class was also pretty good. My favorite skin is Artemis. The live event this season was alright. But now let's talk about the mid-season update being the Avatar update. And for some reason, they just took away every single Greek-themed item and replaced it with Avatar items. I like the Avatar items, but they should not have gotten rid of the seasonal items, like, at all. But they were, like, alright, I guess. Next up is the most controversial season in this chapter, Season 3. Now, making cars OP was a bold move, and I liked at the start, like, with all the chaos and stuff. It was pretty cool, but then they just never changed it. Like, 0 new mods were added the entire season, so the gameplay loop just got boring like 1 or 2 weeks in. The battle pass was alright, and my favorite skin was the Fallout skin. The weapons, besides the cars, were pretty good. My personal favorites are the Ride the Lightning, Nitro Fist, and the Boom Bolt. And also the Magneto gauntlets. Now, although I did talk mostly good about the season, it is my least favorite of the chapter, but it's still pretty good. And finally, for chapter 5 is season 4, the second Marvel season. This season had so much potential to be peak, and it just fumbled completely. The first Marvel season had a new power that was like every single week. It was vastly different than all the others, and it was just cool and awesome. This felt like a cheap copy of that. It was still fun, but not nearly as much as it could have been. The battle pass was good, my favorite skin being Mysterio. The items added were also good, well, the ones that were added. Cap, Shield, and the jetpack were my favorite. Now, I have one big question for Epic Games. Why did you not add the old mythics you already made? The event was also pretty mid, but now it's the next chapter. In 4th place is the most recent chapter, chapter 6. Now, this chapter isn't over yet, but as of now, it's going in 4th. Now, the next couple seasons could bring it down or bring it up, or maybe we'll stay the same, but as of now, this is where it is. Let's start off with season 1. This season, like, it felt like the first chapter season with an actual theme. Like, Japanese mythology was the theme, and it was like prevalent throughout the season. Now, I know chapter 4 season 1 was about medieval times and stuff, but the entire map wasn't like that. It was like a tiny bit of it. But like in chapter 6, you can feel it across the entire map. It genuinely did a great job of following the theme with items like the Oni Mask and Typhoon Blade, along with the different sprays, which were a great addition. This season also brought back an actual story that went across multiple seasons, and we haven't gotten that since like chapter 3. The battle pass this season was also great, and my favorite skin was either Jade, Kendo, or Daigo, pretty much a 3-way tie. The items this season were also great, especially the ones I already mentioned, and the Godzilla update was also incredible, and it was a great concept, and it was implemented into the game perfectly. This season was an amazing start to chapter 6, and the mini live event was the best we've ever gotten. Next up is season 2. Now, I didn't play this season as much as any other season, probably since like season 1 or 2, chapter 1, because I was grinding on rivals. But what I did play was pretty fun, but definitely a step down from season 1. The theme was followed to its maximum, especially with the exotic black market items, which were so fun to use. The battle pass this season was also good. My favorite skin is probably Fletcher Kane or Lawless Midas. The items this season, as I've already mentioned, were incredible, like the exotics, but the melee items were also very abundant this season, and I know that some people don't like melee items for some reason, but I personally love them, so I had a lot of fun with the kneecapper on the combat kits. Lastly, let's talk about our current season, chapter 6, mini season 1, the Star Wars season. Now, this season is great, and it's probably the season that sticks to the theme like strongest. It replaced every single item with a blaster, and I know some people don't like that, but I'm loving it. The battle pass this season is alright because there's not like a lot of skins, so the ones that are like bad or mid like carry it down. But my personal favorite skin is like Apprentice Eevee. It's peak, and if you want to see my full ranking, I posted a video about that a couple weeks ago. The items this season are also pretty great. Like I talked about the blasters already. I like them. But the TIE Fighter and the X-Wing are pretty fun and balanced, so it's the best of both worlds. And I know I've been hating on the lightsabers in the past, like on my past videos, but I've grown to love them. Like they're not as bad as I thought, and they're pretty balanced too. But that's about it for chapter 6, and it has a lot of great seasons with no misses so far, so pretty good. Cracking into the top 3 is chapter 3. This chapter about tree physics and weather conditions with that. And came from the best event in the game's history, so it already had the potential to be great, and it was very hyped up. And it definitely followed through, starting with season 1. This season is genuinely peak, and it's in most people's top 10 seasons, and for a pretty good reason. This season brought things like tents, which are an amazing addition. It also brought the med mist, which is a great healing item. It brought the goated web shooters, which are one of, if not the best mobility item in the game's history. The map was great as well. The battle pass was also pretty good. My personal favorite skin is the Foundation, which had like years of a year build up, or Spider-Man if we're not bringing the story into it. And Ronin is also a pretty great skin. The items this season, as I mentioned already, were great. But that's about it for season 1. It was amazing. The next up is season 2, which is very underrated. It's only like a little bit below season 1 to me. It's a war-themed season that acted as the climax of the 7 vs. IAO storyline, and my god, it delivered. The battle pass was decent with some good skins in there, but also some stinkers. My personal favorite skin is the Origin. The map this season wasn't much different, but the blimps were fun, and the takeover mini event things around the map were also pretty cool. The items this season were pretty solid as well, the highlights being the tank vehicle, which is underrated, and I made a video like ranking vehicles if you want to see that. And the anvil launcher was also pretty fun, but it wasn't like very good, but it was just fun. The event at the end of the season was also so underrated. Like, it was the climax we deserved for the build up it had. And if I had to describe the season in one word, it would be underrated, as everything in here is underrated, sadly. Next up is season 3, and this season is probably my second least favorite season of all time. It was just boring, to be honest, and the 2-week drought of nothing did not help. And also, it was the start of the season 3 curse. The battle pass was alright. My favorite skin is definitely Darth Vader though, because I love Star Wars. The items this season were pretty good too, and the reality sapling was a very cool concept, and it was executed like pretty good. And the best part of the season was absolutely the reality block biome. It looked beautiful, and even though I don't like this season personally, I have to admit it's probably one of the best looking locations we ever gotten. There just wasn't enough content this season though. Next up is season 4, and this was a pretty solid season as well. It brought Chrome, which was a pretty fun mechanic, but it did end the 7 storyline in the worst way possible, and in the most anticlimactic way imaginable. The battle pass this season was also pretty good. My favorite skins either the Paradigm or Spider-Gwen. The items in this season were also pretty cool and unique, with the Goo Gun and Chrome being highlights. The map was also pretty good to start, but then everything turned to Chrome and it looked kind of bad. But the Chrome biome this season was good to fight in, and when you could like head through the walls, it was pretty fun. But this season notoriously had the worst event of all time, Fracture, which was poorly made, and it was like a 40-minute creative map. And I think this event left such a bad taste in people's mouths. They just slandered the season to the ground, even though it wasn't even that bad. Like, I think it's a pretty good season. But yeah, that's enough of chapter 3. Let's go on to the next chapter. Next up is chapter 2. Now, this chapter had too many seasons to go in depth on all of them, so I'll just be going over the big things, starting with season 1, which was mid, and not a lot happened. It brought swimming, which was cool, and the only update was a harpoon gun and lightsabers. Mid. Next is season 2, which was peak. It brought bosses and mythics, great locations, and a storyline too. Next season is season 3, which was good, but it wasn't too good. It was like kind of mid. The flood theme was unique and cool, and the bosses were pretty good, and it was just fun to play. Next up is season 4, which is also peak. It brought a bunch of Marvel mythics, and Stark Industries was fire. The event was also pretty good. Next up is season 5, which is mid. It brought NPCs and a great storyline, a great desert biome, and the 0 point was awesome. Next up is season 6, which was not as bad as people say. It's bad, but it's not that bad, okay? I had fun with the season. The event leading into it was one of the best ever, and it was very cinematic. The best skin ever arrived being Agent Jones. The crafting was a swing and a miss. Bows were fun, and the spire was cool. Next up is season 7, which was peak again. I loved the UFOs and the alien theme. Mothership minigame was fun and useful. Sloan storyline is peak. A live event was one of the best ever, and Q's being in the mothership was a great plot twist. Finally is season 8, which was good. The side was a good concept. The symbiotes were great to use and also fun. The story was great. A live event was the best in history. Map turned into poop stain for some reason. Chapter 2 had some misses, but the peaks were peaked so hard the misses are irrelevant. The next chapter had no misses though. Finally, at first place, you all saw coming is chapter 1. Now I'm gonna do what I did with chapter 2, as chapter 1 it has like even more seasons. First up is season 1, which I barely played and I don't have a good memory of it, but it started the game, so it's pretty good. Next up is season 2, which brought a ton of new locations, including Shifty and Tilted, and new items that became fundamentals like the minis and chug jugs. Also, it had the first battle pass. Next up is season 3, which was Fire. The only map changes that was Lucky Landing, sadly. The weapons were great, especially the guided missile. This season is where Fortnite popped off into the mainstream with people like Ninja and Tfue going crazy on Twitch. And it started the storyline. Next up is season 4, which was genuinely peak. Great battle pass, great weapons. Thanos LTM was amazing. Hop Rocks and other consumables arrived. First live event that was pretty good as well. First vehicle in shopping carts. Next up is season 5, which was peak again. Amazing desert biome, brought Kevin the Cube into the game. HCKs were fun, battle passes were great. Next up is season 6, which was a bit of a decline but still pretty fire. Amazing Fortnite mirrors, great live event. Shadow stones were fun and cool to use. Quad crashers were fun as well. Zombies were fun to me, but a lot of people hated them. Next up is part 3 of peak, being season 7. Snow biome was one of the best we've ever gotten, if not the best. Planes were fun to use, and you could not recreate the joy I felt as an 8-year-old obliterating people with my friends in the plane. Live event was bad. Battle pass was peak. Winterfest was great. Next up is season 8, which was peak part 4. Amazing jungle biome, amazing volcano, a great battle pass, brought PLE as well. I loved ballers. Floor's lava LTM was incredible. Next up is season 9, which is probably the worst of chapter 1. Next is season 1 and 2, but it's still great, which tells you a lot about how good chapter 1 is if this is the worst. It brought a futuristic biome, which was fun with the slipstreams, and battle pass was alright. Live event was top 3, very epic. Finally is season X, which was the most overhated season in Fortnite history. The mechs were not even that bad. You guys don't know how to play the game. The theme was great and an amazing finale to chapter 1. The battle pass is one of the best we've ever gotten. The event is right behind chapter 2 season 8 for the best, and the black hole is iconic. The ref zones were unique and made playing the game much more fun and enjoyable, and mixed up the gameplay loop, and that's why chapter 1 is peak to all you deniers. And that's the end of my chapter ranking. This video took a lot of effort, so if you liked it, please make sure to like and subscribe to get me to 6,000 subs by the time GTA 6 comes out. And comment what you change. If you loved the video, you can cash at me, but it's enough out of me. Goodbye.